Recently, I saw a limited edition Ducati Street Fighter V4 Lamborghini and wondered if everyday riders like myself should care about motorcycles we can't afford. At a Ducati Sanford event here in Florida, I realized that irrespective of affordability, a lot of people absolutely love these exceptional motorcycles, while others find it hard to see the value for money. If you have watched my videos before, you know that I am in the second camp. But this time, I want to do something different. Dissect the backstories of limited edition motorcycles released in the past decade to find out if there are any valid reasons why everyday riders like myself should be excited about them. The first story starts in 2013. Ducati had just upgraded the Panigale 1198 to the 1199. The top trim was supposed to be the Panigale 1199S, but Ducati also came up with the Panigale 1199 tricolor trim, which got some bold new graphics and a track kit. At the time, the BMW HP4 was the closest competitor with forged aluminum wheels and semi-active suspension. But Ducati's homologation special, the Panigale 1199R, blew it out of the water with lower weight and more power. It was a race bike that's street legal and it cost $30,000 in 2014. But Ducati didn't stop there. They decided to use that platform to build the first ever Superleggera. At the time, the 1199 Superleggera boasted of a power to weight ratio that no other production motorcycle in history could match. A stock road legal 1199 Superleggera made 200 horsepower and weighed 390 pounds. With a race kit, it made 205 horsepower and weighed 385 pounds. Nowadays, 200 plus horsepower leader bikes may be commonplace, but back in 2014, these numbers were not normal. It was so over the top that the 1199 Superleggera wasn't even allowed to compete in World Superbike. Imagine having a motorcycle that is potentially more capable than the ones being raced by the world's best superbike racers. Only 500 were ever produced and cost $65,000. In 2017, Ducati released the final edition Panigale 1299R, which was the last full-sized L-twin Panigale Ducati ever made before switching to V4 engines. And they decided to use that as the base bike for a bigger and better 1299 Superleggera. Ducati went wild with the use of titanium and carbon fiber this time. The monocoque frame, subframe, single-sided swing arm, and BST wheels were all carbon fiber. They went to great lengths to shed weight from the engine and even the suspension. The 1299 Superleggera also came with a race kit as standard that had full titanium Akrapovic exhaust system, carbon fiber tail section, a racing windscreen, and a long list of track goodies. The stock bike made 215 horsepower and weighed 368 pounds wet. With the race kit, 1299 Superleggera's power went up by 5 horsepower and the weight went down even more. Same as before, it was a 500 units only limited edition that cost $80,000 in the US, 72,000 pounds in the UK, and 1.12 CR in India. That is 169,000 US dollars at 2017 exchange rates. That did not matter because it was sold out at release. Of course, when Ducati went to the V4 engines, they had to do a V4 Superleggera, and they did. The 2020 Superleggera V4 was based on the Panigale V4R, a de-stroked 998cc V4 homologation special version of the 1103cc Panigale V4. Ducati claimed that the Superleggera V4 was the lightest, most powerful, and most sophisticated motorcycle they ever produced. That sounded awfully similar to what they said in 2017, but Ducati had somehow outdone themselves yet again. About 42% of the engine components were redesigned to shed 6.2 pounds from the engine alone. A stock Superleggera V4 makes 224 horsepower. With an included race kit, it's 234 horses and the weight drops to 385 pounds wet. The biplane wings that look like a mustache did inspire a bunch of memes, but Ducati claimed that those wings had more effective aerodynamics than previous year's MotoGP bike. That is insane for a production bike. And if you're thinking that Ducati is the only one that pushes the limits of street legal bikes, let me tell you what Honda did that one time. In 2016, Honda released a MotoGP bike that was street legal. The Honda RC213VS had the same 999cc V4 engine as Honda's 2013 MotoGP bike minus the pneumatic valves and seamless transmission, but it was built by the same HRC team that runs Honda's MotoGP program. Until this point, I had wondered if someone had the money to buy a MotoGP bike, how much would it cost? Well, Honda had just answered that question. $184,000 in 2016. Price tag notwithstanding, the idea that a MotoGP machine could somehow be turned into a street-legal motorcycle was mind-boggling. The last time a manufacturer attempted something similar was Ducati with the Desmo Sedici RR in 2006. But the Honda story did not exactly have a happy ending. The street-legal RCV 213 VS in the US made 101 horsepower. The European model made 157, and the Japanese release got a meager 68 horsepower. A sports kit did unlock the bike to make 212 horsepower, which was impressive in 2016, but with the kit, it wasn't street legal anymore. And here's the kicker, Honda never made the sports kit available in the US. They insisted that the idea was not to use outright power, but to showcase the exceptionally precise handling of a MotoGP bike that no other production bike could ever match. And the motorcycle journalists and some ex-racers who test rode it were amazed at the exceptional handling, but the restricted versions, race kit fiasco in the US, skipping simple rider aids like an auto blipper or ABS did not go down well with the enthusiasts. Honda originally planned to make 250 units, but various sources suggest that they never went past 125, supposedly because of an earthquake. Recently, 2 of those bikes have been sold at well over the original price in auctions in the US and Japan. Not surprisingly, both had the 212 horsepower inducing sports kit with them. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and help me out. Thank you. Back to the story. In 2013, BMW had introduced the HP4, which was a more track-oriented version of the already legendary S1000RR. The 2015 S1000RR was already making 198 horsepower. In 2017, they came up with the HP4 Race Limited Edition, which was track-only. It had a lot of components straight from the World Superbike BMW. Many considered it to be superior to the BMWs being raced at World Superbike because the engineers on the HP4 Race project did not need to comply with any emission or race regulations. They just had to build the best race bike they possibly could. Reviewers were blown away with the handling despite the significant jump in power on a wild BMW platform. It was a very close competitor to the 1299 Superleggera in every way: power, weight, and price tag. But there was one key difference that failed to make it as popular as the Superleggera. The HP4 Race was a track-only bike and had all the race bike quirks that would leave casual street riders dumbfounded. For example, the engine had a 3100 mile or 5000 kilometers limit, after which the engine was toast. It needed to be swapped out for a new engine. Like a race bike, it had no radiator fan, so you couldn't sit on idle for long without overheating it. These things are common in racing, but street riders or even casual track day junkies like myself are not used to those things. And of course, no lights, no mirrors, no plates, no street parts whatsoever meant that you couldn't take it to public roads and show it off to your friends. No wonder the 750 limited edition units did not exactly fly off the shelf like the Superleggera did. Today, the price of a used HP4 Race is a lot less than a used 1299 Superleggera, even though they were priced similarly at release and had similar performance. So far, you can see a trend that looks similar to the car manufacturers' race to build the world's fastest production cars at obscene price tags. But this list has a twist. Exorbitant price tags and land speed records are not the criteria. I'm just trying to mix it up with different types of bikes that are special to different enthusiast groups. And one such group is custom built bike lovers. In 2019, Triumph came up with the idea to capture the imagination of that segment. A Triumph factory custom division to build bikes that look like custom built versions of Triumph's popular motorcycles. And the first bike that they launched was the Triumph Thruxton TFC based on the Triumph Thruxton R. They also unveiled the Triumph Rocket 3 TFC with the same press release, but I want to talk about the Thruxton TFC more because this is a limited edition bike that addressed something like no other bike on this entire list: Price. The base for the TFC was the Thruxton R, which was a 14,500 sporty version of the Thruxton 1200, which was 12,500. And I usually do not associate Triumph with value for money, but for $6,000 you got 12 horsepower gain with engine upgrades like high compression pistons, a new cam profile, lighter crankshaft, new clutch and balance shafts, lighter cam and engine covers. On top of the engine weight savings, the Triumph got aluminum engine cradle rails, titanium exhaust with carbon fiber end caps, carbon fiber bodywork, and a billet aluminum top triple, saving 11 more pounds. It also came with 3 TFC specific power modes with customizable ABS and traction control. You would often hear people say that limited edition bikes hold their value, but so far none of the European bikes seem to have done that. There are a few more bikes to go. Let's see if that changes. In 2020, MV Agusta used the F4 1000 RC as the base bike, which by the way was already a 250 units limited edition race homologation motorcycle. But MV didn't try to shave weight or increase power like Ducati, they just made a naked superbike out of an actual superbike. The limited edition Brutale Series Oro was the first street naked bike with air wings even before the Ducati Street Fighter got them. It got carbon fiber wheels, GPS tracking, titanium hardware, exclusive red wire paint, and a race kit with titanium exhaust and a dedicated ECU that could bump the peak power by 4 horsepower, and the overall kit shed weight by 5 pounds. 300 units limited edition Brutale Series Oro was launched first, sold out within minutes, and then MV decided to release a relatively affordable, slightly stripped down Brutale 1000 RR available to the rest of the world. But interestingly, the engine, frame, brakes, suspension, and much of the electronics were the same between the limited edition and the base trim. And this reminds me of an important point to cover. The technological advancements in engine, equipment, and electronics that are commonplace on modern motorcycles today were exceptional breakthroughs when they were originally introduced on race bikes in MotoGP and World Superbike. And that might be a valid reason for me to get behind the idea of these uber expensive motorcycles. Affluent early movers pay for the tech to get tested when it's new and expensive, but eventually everyone else gets access to it when the tech can be mass produced at relatively affordable prices. And at this point, if you feel like sharing this video with your rich friend, please go ahead and do that. The common threads across all those bikes so far are higher than usual price tags, exclusivity, and unprecedented performance gains. And that is the part that changed in 2021 with the Ducati Diavel 1260 Lamborghini. It did have carbon fiber parts and lighter forged wheels, but no significant changes in performance, and still it was sold out well before most of us got a glimpse of it. And that is what stumped me. It took a minute for a light bulb to go off. I realized that certain things may not be special because of what they can do, but because of what they represent. Time for a history refresher. Ducati started as a radio making company in 1926. The factory was bombed during World War II. They revived themselves making everyday motorized bikes, eventually started racing and building race bikes and winning races before they became the company that represents performance and innovation today. Lamborghini has a similar dark horse backstory, which has today become a company that is known for performance, innovation, and absolutely breathtaking cars. There are videos about the history of both companies on Donut Media that I would highly recommend watching. Both Ducati and Lamborghini have had their share of turmoil and financial troubles in the past. Eventually, their paths converged and they both ended up being under the ownership of Audi, which bought Lamborghini in 1998 and Ducati in 2012. The Ducati Lamborghini Diavel represents the coming together of the two iconic brands. People did criticize that the differentiation from a regular Diavel wasn't enough for the limited edition to be that special, but that didn't matter to the enthusiasts, and the Ducati 1260 Diavel Lamborghini is now being listed at 3 times the original price tag, and Ducati likes to repeat what works and usually do it better than before. Enter the Ducati Street Fighter V4 Lamborghini. Not only does it look way better than the Diavel, but this time Ducati seemed a lot more invested into capturing the theme of the Lamborghini Huracan STO that it is inspired from. And a lot of creators have pointed out what those upgrades are, but here's something that nobody is talking about. The Huracan STO is not just any Huracan. The Huracan Super Trofeo Omologato, or STO, is actually a homologated version of a race car that is raced by Lamborghini in their Super Trofeo race series. It is the highest performing track-focused Huracan they ever made, which is barely street legal, just so that enthusiasts could experience what a real race car feels like. What motorcycle does Ducati make that has a similar background? The Ducati V4R. Wouldn't that be a collab that's cool as hell? But I think it's probably because the Superleggera V4 is already the limited edition version of the V4R, Ducati decided to choose the Street Fighter instead. And I honestly think that they did a great job making sure it stands out from the base bike. The Lamborghini inspired wheel and nut are hard to miss. The fenders look so cool that they actually make the regular Street Fighter look basic. Oh, and only 63 Lamborghini customers have the option of getting their bikes customized to their own Lamborghinis for a $98,000 Speciale Cliente trim. So what does it mean for everyday riders like myself? I would summarize that in 3 points. 1. Eventually, the tech flows down to everyday motorcycles, and that is a big plus for all of us. And 2, which is a subjective one, motorcycles are a special kind of machines that have an emotional value. And when it comes to emotions, things like the history or symbolism of what a particular motorcycle represents often carries more weight than the practical application of a two-wheeled vehicle. As an enthusiast, I can totally see both points now. And the last point is price. The whole spiel about limited edition motorcycles holding their value is irrelevant and does not always work. But not being able to afford these astounding works of art does not exactly trigger the cynic in me. I'm actually happy to look at them as a pipe dream that may or may not come true one day. Now I get to daily a Yamaha XSR 900 and frequently track a ZX6R. I'm super grateful for that and hopeful for the future. Videos about those bikes will be on the channel in weeks to come, so subscribe to watch them. And in the comments, I would love to read what is your opinion about limited edition motorcycles. This is for us trying to answer random motorcycle questions one video at a time.